Welcome back, everybody, to These Aren't the Nerds You're Looking For, episode 19. We're covering Dooku Captured today. That's season 1, episode 11, production code 116. Today I'm here with Lorenzo. Yep, Lorenzo.
There's a lot of us today. So
we got two guest hosts. We got Michael and Peter. Sorry, Mike and Peter. You guys want to introduce yourselves? These guys are from Rebels podcast.
Yeah. How's it going? I'm Peter.
And
from
I'm
Rebels
Mike.
Rebels.
Yeah, we're
Hey.
from... Whoa. Oh,
Whoa.
geez.
So this is probably going to... Have you ever had this many guests on at the same time?
no.
Okay, we'll try not to make it a mess. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's fine.
It'll be good. We have doubled the number of guests that we've had on at one time today. So
Are we your first guests?
you are not, but you guys are our second guests. So
I didn't know if you meant you went from 2 to 4.
no, we went
Math isn't
from
my
1 to
strong
2.
suit.
yeah, we went from one
Yeah.
one guest to 2 guests. So
Nice.
yeah,
Yeah, so we're from Rebels Pod. We like to say we're kind of, if you've ever heard of hardcore history, we're kind of a hardcore history of Star Wars.
right on.
So we go pretty deep into the canon, and as a vessel, we do that by deep diving every episode of Rebels. So much like what you're doing, but for Rebels.
Yep. We do a very similar thing, except for we are, I don't know. I think we're gonna get to Rebels, but that'll be in like another 103 episodes.
6 years
so.
down the line.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We put out one a week, so every Wednesday we drop an episode, and like I said, this one's number 19, so we're in month number 5
Oh, wow.
here out of, and just the Clone Wars is, what did we say, 2.5 years? It's 125 episodes.
Something like that.
So-
Yeah.
Oh,
So
wow.
we got a
Jeez.
while.
Well,
Yeah.
good for you.
Yeah, we've only done one season of Rebels, which was only, that's, I don't know, how many episodes? Only 14 episodes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And it made me
Yeah.
want to jump off a bridge. So congrats to you.
Yeah, this has been a fun exploration of Clone Wars, especially because I only watched it once and left it in my rear view. And then Kevin brought it up with me, and I'm like, let me think about that endeavor first. And then now here we are. So
how'd you guys decide to do an episodic deep dive of Rebels?
Well, one night when we were cuddling, I kind of just looked into Peter's eyes, and I said, "Do you want to be fun, honey?"
I said,
No, we were. It was.
I love
It was.
you. He said, I know.
I know.
Aw.
No, we were. I mean, it's totally inspired by other Star Wars podcasts because I'm
Right.
a Star Wars. I think it's safe to say we're all nerds. But it was like we were looking for. There's so many Star Wars podcasts out there, and we were looking for a way to talk about Star Wars. And Rebels kind of seemed like low-hanging fruit because it was about to end. And we didn't know any episode-by-episode deep dives. We've seen episode-by-episode reviews, but not
Right.
necessarily ones that went as deep as we kind of wanted to go. So
Yeah, so the format is we'll do a long episode where we talk about the actual episode, what happened, and then we'll talk about Easter eggs and history, how it fits, and then we do these mini deep dives where if we just talked about, we just did an Ahsoka episode of Rebels, we'll then do a deep dive on just Ahsoka, her history, what she's been
nice.
up to, things like that. And for me, it was Mike and I randomly had Fridays off from our jobs. So we would meet up at a coffee shop every Friday and just talk and do some work on our own or fun projects, and it just always turned into us talking about that stuff. Like, oh my gosh, like how much do you think a TIE fighter costs? So we just talk about that for an hour. So we're like, okay, we should just record this. It would be fun. Why not?
Yeah.
How much does a TIE fighter cost? Like,
Oh, I actually have a note about that related to
Okay.
this. That is what I call a tease.
ooh, all right.
Nice setup there.
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
professionals.
Kevin and I are not. Oh yeah, Kevin and I are not good at that yet.
Yeah.
We are. We kind of. You'll find out. We go off of little rabbit holes and tangents and.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds right up our alley. We're
So
basically the
our-
most pedantic podcast that you
Yep.
can-
Oh, yeah.
Perfect.
Yep.
Yep.
So our target time when we were sitting down talking about this, we've talked about this a few times on the show, but Lorenzo and I, before we ever did any recording, we're just talking about like, hey, we want to do this thing and whatever. We were like, yeah, like we'll shoot for 45 minutes, maybe an hour. We thought like that would be enough time to cover 22 minutes of television, and not even close.
No,
So
I feel.
if at some point in
Yeah.
time you guys need to just drop off because this shit is taking too long,
Oh yeah, just
Feel free.
Just shout out. No problem.
Yep.
Because Kevin and I will go for a long time.
yeah, I think last week was 2.5 hours maybe.
Yeah.
So
That definitely was the longest by far. Though.
Nice.
Yep.
Like,
we're trying to keep to about an hour and a half. So just
Yeah, sounds healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, if you go
Yeah.
down a rabbit hole, give me a time to go and make another burger.
that sounds great. So
We talked
burger,
about
another
this
glass of
before
tea.
the show, but I've got a podcast burger going on right now, and it's really hitting the spot.
that's good.
it's fine. Kevin has his podcast beer,
I
which he
do.
always has.
Perfect.
I do.
I do not usually have anything but water, so I need to start bringing some snacks or something. So
It's because Lorenzo is lame.
hey, summer's coming. I'm trying to get shit in gear. So by the way,
Nice.
we curse. So we curse.
Frick
like,
yeah!
You can
So-
say whatever you want.
But
All right. Well, in that case,
fart.
yeah.
There we go.
Let it fly, guys. Let it fly. Oh yeah.
Parents
Let that
are
freedom
parents
fly.
are asleep.
They don't call us the bad boys of Star Wars for nothing.
Is that something new? I wasn't aware of that nickname.
No, we're just trying to make it stick.
Stop trying to make fetch happen, guys. It's not gonna happen.
Nice.
Also, my pop culture references do expand outside of Star Wars.
Yeah.
The last 2 episodes in a row, for no reason, I've been trying to create Taylor Swift feuds between Star Wars characters. So
Oh no!
Yeah.
Wait, are you? I'm a Katie cat, so I don't know if I can be on the podcast if you're a Swift head. I don't know what they're called.
No. I am not. No. I have listened to her music. I liked 1989. I have no hat in the ring. I just enjoy watching the feud from afar. Does that make sense?
And I think poking it with a real long stick.
Yes. Yeah. So that's fine. If you're throwing your hat in with the Katy Perry ring, that's fine by me.
I'm not saying this for comedic purposes. I legitimately went and saw a Katy Perry concert with my wife a year ago or two, and it was the greatest show I've ever seen in my entire life.
That's what I've heard. One of my friends recently told me that she got Groupon tickets, which is kind of depressing that her tickets were available on Groupon.
that's not good.
But there were friends that were still in Michigan, so I don't know what the crowd is like there. But I heard that seeing Left Shark was like the highlight of their lives. So.
I'm gonna have to combat both of you and say the greatest show I've ever been to is obviously a Weird Al show.
Oh, we went to that
Nice.
together.
Yeah, he.
It was great.
Yeah, we saw it together. I'm a little bit of an alcoholic, if you know what I mean.
I am too. I still have not been able to see him. He was just here like a few weeks ago.
I
and
saw
I'm
him.
really sad. I missed
saw
him.
him for free at a fair. It was like so amazing.
So nice.
He did White and Nerdy on a Segway, and I was like, "Yeah, this guy has life figured out. I love this."
He's playing in Oakland on Saturday.
Oh my god. Oh my
Get
god.
those tickets. Get your shit together. Get those tickets.
I have nothing to add to this conversation, but one time I did go to a One Direction concert. So
My wife went to One Direction. She was kind of blown away.
Yeah, my wife and I took our daughter a couple years ago, 2 or 3 years ago now. I don't remember how long ago, but it was very long, and there was music, and my daughter had a great time.
Nice.
that's what counts.
So there's that.
So, so as you can tell, tangents are a thing.
Nah, this feels Star Wars adjacent.
This might.
Yes,
I have a
exactly.
feeling we're gonna push you to the 3-hour mark.
Hey, that's fine. I got plenty of space on this SD card, so
Challenge accepted.
Oh no. Let's try not to. Oh
so
my
scared.
gosh.
should Kevin, do you actually want to start on talking about the episode, and then we'll see where we go from there?
Yeah, do you guys got anything else you need to throw out there before we start talking about Dooku Captured?
Well, I can say something not
Oh
about
my
the
God,
episode.
Peter, shut the fuck up.
Oh my gosh, you've never said that to me before.
I'm just kidding.
It's a Star Wars
Sorry,
thing,
we
guys.
We have a touchy relationship. I'm just kidding, Peter.
It's a Star Wars thing.
Let's work it out.
So
Say it.
This is a place to work it out. You got 2 new people in the group.
this is part.
Feel free to share. It's a safe space.
This is
Somebody
part.
sleeping on the couch tonight.
Yeah. This is part of the hash. What needs to be hashed out. So you gave us an option of 2 episodes: Dooku Captured
Yes.
or the Gungan General. Am I correct?
Correct. Yes.
Yep.
Because I'm a nice guy, let Mike pick Dooku because it's your favorite character or one of your favorite characters.
Dooku is probably my favorite character in all of Star Wars.
And I unironically have a very soft spot for Jar Jar Binks. So
Interesting.
I just want it to be known we did this podcast, this episode, because of my affection for Mike and his love for Dooku. And I am going to try to fit Jar Jar into this as much as possible because I'm a little bitter that I don't get to do my Jar Jar impression all day long.
Well, he does appear in this episode, so when that happens, we'll give you. Oh, you know what though? I don't think he has any dialogue, but that's all right.
I'll make it up.
He's in it.
Oh, yeah. He kind of just awkwardly stands there like an idiot.
He's just ready to go.
That's too far, Mike.
I'm curious. Let's start with Mike. What is it about Dooku that?
Yeah. Do you know, I think most of what it is they... Because I like the prequels. People, bash the prequels. I'm not a prequel hater. I even will place one of the prequels in my top 3 Star Wars movies. I like them. I was just the age, I think, when they came out that made it right. But I think, for me, the thing I like about Dooku is mostly that they chose Christopher Lee as the actor. I thought was such a good choice. I think he's just an amazing actor. He's played so many amazing roles, and him as Dooku specifically is just I think so fun and kind of like old school horror movie campy, and it feels like reminiscent of what made A New Hope so good. Kind of this, this Star Wars movie that's a little cheesy, fun, but has the edge to it that I think Christopher Lee brings in. I think he is one of the best additions in the prequels. It just feels just reflective of like the 70s era Star Wars to me, and so I just love that. I love putting him in there. I think that was such a good move.
Yeah, that sounds right. That makes sense.
So Mike, you said you'd put one of the prequels in your top 3. Which one would that be?
So my first favorite movie is obviously A New Hope.
Okay.
And then I go Empire.
Okay.
And then I go Phantom Menace.
Okay.
I love, and I think this is obviously super subjective. Objectively, it would be a little different, but subjectively, like it just hit at the right time in my life, and I don't know, I was like 11 or 12 when it came out, and it was, I don't know, I just have so much. It's like a feel good movie for me, and it's Star Wars. It's just like
Hey, I'll give it to you, man. That's awesome.
I think people's relationship with the prequel does depend on your age.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
I'll also say, this is an original thought. One of my friends, Alex from Black Series Rebel, brought this up, and I think the prequels got a ton of hate because at that point, that was Star Wars was over. We had it was just bleak. We got hit with that, and it's just we'll never get Star Wars again.
And that's
it.
it.
And so I think now that we know it's going to go on forever, probably, that people have an appreciation of it. I'm not one of those people. This is another point of contention in our relationship, even though I love Jar Jar. Jeez.
So, Peter, what's your top 3?
It's very hard to say. It's always in motion is the future. Is that a Star Wars thing? Probably.
It is.
I am going to say this is in terms, again, subjectively, of what I enjoy more than what I think is the best movie. And I am going to say Empire, Jedi, then The Last Jedi.
Okay, so you go Empire, Jedi, Jedi. I'll throw mine out there, and you guys can hang up on me if you want to. But I go Rogue One, Revenge of the Sith, Return of the Jedi. 1, 2, 3.
Gotta go.
Wow.
This is an interesting group.
Yeah.
This is
What about you, Lorenzo?
That's so crazy. That's so
And
crazy.
for me.
I will say for anyone listening right now, we're recording before Solo comes out, but this is coming out after Solo.
Like
Cool.
way after, yeah.
No, it's actually like the following Wednesday.
For this one? Are you sure?
Yeah.
No, you're behind.
No?
Because right after Solo should be Duel of the Droids.
Oh shit! It's a month after. I don't know how to. I don't.
You're looking at June. You're looking at June 20 something.
June 27th.
It's all right.
Yep.
We did
There
a
you
weird thing where we recorded
Oh.
half our podcast before The Last Jedi and then half our podcast after The Last Jedi and then
Right.
released it all after The Last Jedi. So we have half of it is like Snoke jokes and all this weird stuff that, we didn't. Oh, I wonder if they're going to talk about this. And then the other half is us talking about it and complaining about it.
Yeah, and then everybody already knows. Yeah. Real quick, my top 3, just to throw it out there, because
Yep.
this is an interesting batch of people now. I'm gonna, I kind of go. This is my best, not my personal pick of favorites. So it's a slightly different judge from what Peter was saying, but I'm gonna go Rogue One, Empire, A New Hope. That's my list.
Yeah.
Rogue One. You guys both love Rogue One. That's so wild. I knocked Rogue One just above Attack of the Clones, all the way at the bottom there.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But I like that. I like that. I like
Yeah.
that. And of course, that said, I like them all, and they're enjoyable, and I have fun with it. But I love that people are so all over the place. I think that's fun.
Mm-hmm.
I put The Last Jedi like one notch above Attack of the Clones, all the way down at the bottom. Although the very bottom of the barrel was the Clone Wars movie, which is great for somebody doing a fucking 2.5 year long week by week podcast of the series. I'm sure. So
do we all put Attack of the Clones at the bottom?
Nope.
Is that a universal
For
truth?
live action?
What?
For
Yeah,
live
for live
action,
action.
yeah.
Nope.
What, Peter?
Yeah, it's at the
Nope.
bottom of mine. Yeah.
What's at the bottom of yours, Peter?
Phantom Menace. Duh.
That's
See,
right. That's right. I forgot you aren't cultured.
See, to me, Phantom at least has like redeemable qualities of having like decent watchable action scenes.
Yeah.
To me, Attack of the Clones is 2.5 hours of space C-SPAN.
Yeah. Well,
if I wouldn't have watched Attack of the Clones like 6 months ago, it would be like way higher on my list. But then I watched it again. I was like, damn, got disappointed. And like,
Yeah.
I was like, everybody's right
See, it's
about things that they bitch about.
There are definitely
And-
bad parts, but I recently rewatched all the prequels, and I remember I thought
they're-
that Attack or Sith was way better. It was for a while hovering around my top 3, and I came away disliking Sith a lot more than I remember, and liking Attack of the Clones a lot more than I remember. And it's
how can you
because
say
of the
that?
action, honestly.
How can you say that after a robot helps give birth to Luke and Leia and goes ooh-bah?
Ooh-bah, ooh-bah.
I said I like it less, not that I don't like it. It's still great.
I feel like
Yeah, Sith-
Oh man.
Yeah, Sith Sith has problems, but I do really like that one. My main problem with Sith is the running out of time writing anything in terms of, for reasons we do not know, she is dying. Reasons you don't know or the writers don't want to come up with. Like,
She died of a broken heart, Lorenzo. She lost the will to live.
she lost the will to live. I guess that's a thing as your children are
I
coming
will
into this
say,
world, so
I agree with the writing part, but no medical professional ever says that she dies of a broken heart. I think that was Space Jimmy Smits that
Oh,
says
completely.
that.
That's
What
very
credentials
true.
does he have? He doesn't know. Could have been an aneurysm.
Yeah. And he's just happy to take a
Yeah.
baby out of the thing. He's like,
Yeah, he
he's
probably
like,
set
hey,
it
we've
up.
always wanted kids. This is gonna work.
He probably
out
poisoned
great."
her.
Oh
Like,
man. Yeah, that's what I was just thinking when you said that. I was like, holy crap, he totally killed Padme. And he was like, oh, I don't know, broken heart, right, guys? And the robots were like, I don't know, yeah, sure, broken heart.
Sure.
They were probably his robots. He was just like, you just shut up and say Uba.
Yeah, and then like Yoda's plan to like split them up is even better because he's like, great, half the price, like half the diapers that we have to worry about. Great, yeah, split them up for their safety. Great, we'll just take this one, and make her not a prominent figure in the Senate or anything whatsoever. Don't worry, guys.
Definitely not a princess.
Under the radar.
Definitely not a princess.
What if Uba actually means like help me, I'm being held hostage like against my will? It's like Uba, like someone help me.
They are trying to kill her. Why is nobody seeing this?
It actually means like the complete opposite of that. It just means it just means relax.
I will say though, you have little room to stand on if you're talking about writing compared to Phantom Menace, because I'm randomly for no reason looking up Jar Jar Binks quotes. Let me read one for you. My no, Messa de startin' pity okie day, widda briska morning munchin', den boom, gettin' berry scared, den grabbin' data Jedi and pow Messa here, messin' gettin' berry scared. Quote, Jar Jar Binks.
Wow, that's amazing. Is that Walt Whitman? I think that's good.
I love your flat reading as if like somebody was in an audition room having to like react against that. Like,
I know, I love doing my
Peter.
Jar Jar
Natalie Portman,
impression, but I
react
just
to
thought
this,
I needed a little
please.
more gravitas.
Peter, I got one question for you. Is that your Jar Jar impression?
Or your Ahmed Best impression.
Did we lose him?
I think we lost him for a hot second. Let's see what happens.
I think Skype just automatically drops you if you quote Jar Jar Binks.
Oh my gosh, everything's freezing.
They're like, nah, fuck it. You're done. Hey Peter, if
Sorry,
if
my
you
my
think Phantom
everything
Menace
just froze.
is the best of the prequels, don't say anything. Told you.
Peter, if Skype is holding you against your will, just say Uba 3 times.
Uba.
This is going to be a fun one to edit.
Sorry, I just completely dropped off. I think I'm back on now.
You
What?
Okay.
You're here.
I
We
kept
can hear you.
We're
recording.
good.
now, sorry.
Don't worry. You're fine. We're just making endless fun of you, that's all.
How wooed!
So we made the agreement that because your silence was consent, that Phantom is in fact your favorite.
Oh my god, silence is
Oh
never
my
consent. There's so much that's weird about that.
I told you guys, there's anything goes. Anything goes.
Saying nothing means it's okay.
We're getting a little dark side Anakin right now.
We're good. Okay, so I think we have a good read of the room now.
I think so.
Into the episode.
Yeah, we're
Bawanda.
carry on, Kevin. What's going on?
As usual, we start with a fortune cookie at the beginning of each episode. This one might be more appropriate to the recording of the show than the episode itself, as it just states the winding path to peace is always a worthy one, regardless of how many turns it takes. After that, we got our newsreel. So basically,
Last time on Clone Wars.
Last time on the Clone Wars, the Republicans found Dooku, and he went to go get him, and now he's lost. So, of course, Obi-Wan goes to save him, blah, 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 far reaches of the Outer Rim. This is where the episode starts proper, and we see Obi-Wan, like, floating through space in a little space suit with some fucking, like, a jetpack on, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
But
he's in his like 2001
Yeah.
A Space Odyssey scene.
Which I wanted to say
Something
seems
like that.
very not safe and fit for space travel. So I think this is an argument for canonical shaky space physics, a la
Oh, there's tons of shaky space physics for
So
sure.
I don't know what everyone's complaining about
Different
in
universe,
Last
different
Jedi
rules.
with Space Mary Poppins because it's canon as far as I'm concerned.
We actually
Yeah,
we actually talked about that, and Lorenzo had a pretty compelling argument of how that is 100%
Yeah.
legit and possible.
really briefly, the short version is a human, if ejected from a space capsule, has about a minute to live. The vacuum of space, because there is nothing there, there is nowhere for the heat to go, so you don't freeze instantaneously. It's just more of a matter of your breath
So
and how you can hold it.
As long as you can hold your breath, you can just float around in space.
Yeah. Also, like
For about a minute.
Yeah, in I don't know, like let's say like this happens in some of the comic books where like a Jedi is underwater and they'll create like an oxygen, like using the Force, they'll create oxygen around them in like a kind of bubble.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
so maybe there's some kind of subconscious thing going on. I mean, that's where I'm really reaching on that one, but also what stresses me out about Obi-Wan in a spacesuit in this is I don't know if anyone read the most recent Darth Vader comic that just came out.
Not yet.
Comics are totally my thing. And the Star Wars universe, I think they're so much better than the shitty books they're putting out, and I read every single one of them still, so the joke's on me. But, so there's like, Vader is hunting down, it's right after Order 66, and Vader's hunting down all these remaining Jedi, and they go to where the Mon Calamari are, and there's all these Jedi, and they like escape, and they get to space, and all these Jedi are like in space suits, and to kill them, Vader starts like using the Force to shatter their spacesuit helmets, and so all these Jedis are like, "Oh, I can't breathe!" And like they're dying that way. And I was like, "Oh, that's so interesting." And then so watching this, I was like, "Oh, this just spacesuits scare me now." 'Cause I feel like you could just use the Force. Like if a Sith rolls by, it's gonna be like, "Broke your suit." Shatter
Also,
their suits.
In the suit, where is Obi-Wan's lightsaber dangling, and how much danger is that of getting like knocked and ignited?
It's probably just dangling like between his legs.
I was about to say that sounds like a euphemism.
Like a penis. The joke was it's his penis.
Ooh.
Right, guys? Not if you consent.
Just more silence. More silence.
More silence. Silence is good. My question was, like, how far does this thing fly? How fast does it go? Because if he's, I don't know.
Where was he coming from?
Where-
Did we establish that?
No, it doesn't say where he's coming from. It just says where he's going to, as so often happens in the Clone Wars, and you just can kind of see him floating up. So he either came from a ship that would presumably have dropped him off close enough to be picked up by whatever sensors that Dooku's ship has, or this thing can go through fucking hyperspace, which would probably be terrifying, right? I don't really know. So after some shenanigans of these thrusters working in like both directions, because he just kind of like hops around on the top of the ship, and the thrusters are just like pointing down full bore the entire time, and there's just like an enter button, like you just hit a button on the ship and it opens the door, and you can come in your spacesuit no matter who you are.
Makes sense. Security is high.
I
on
will
these
say
ships.
this is cool. I
there's
like
some-
the subtle 50s influence of the spacesuit. It does seem very kind of like Dexter's Diner, but not like hitting you over the head with it.
Right.
Where there's like a waitress named Flo who evidently is married to Dexter Jetster in a weird horror film kind of relationship kind of way. I like how you can see that George Lucas was very clearly, because George Lucas is still involved at this point, which is kind of a weird thing because he wasn't.
Yes.
He's not for Rebels, so I'm not used to talking about George. But yeah, you could tell he's not the most subtle guy. So I like that he didn't go overboard with like neon trim on the spacesuit right there.
Which is definitely interesting, because usually George Lucas gets like one little thing in his head, and it seems like then he goes to Dave Filoni. He's like, "No, you're gonna build the whole episode around this one thing." Like,
Yeah, there's an example.
Obi-Wan is
There's an
gonna show
example
up.
of that later.
Maybe
I read behind the scenes. If you saw the pirates,
Okay.
they have like flying saucers, straight up UFO flying saucers.
that's right.
Yeah.
And I guess that's something that he's been trying to get
Yeah.
into Star Wars since the beginning. And he finally was like, "All right, put in that flying saucer. I don't care. Just do it."
While
There
he's
are-
wearing his I Believe shirt. He's like, it's flying saucer.
Maybe we should put a flying saucer in it.
We'll talk about the saucer a little bit more when we get to it, because I have a lot of comments on the saucer, and especially regarding the timing of the release of this episode and when the saucer would have had to kind of come to fruition. But
now that's what I call a tease.
There we go. Yeah, I'm setting up a tease.
Lorenzo,
So
you want to do a little speed run through some of this shit because you're
Sure,
way better
let's
at
speed run through this.
better at that than I am. We'll be here
Yeah,
forever.
because my notes are like 1/10, literally the length of Kevin's. So let's see. Obi-Wan goes to find Anakin. He finds him in a cell. They start talking for a second. Obi-Wan brings Anakin his lightsaber, and then like within 2 seconds, they're like, "Well, this was all part of the plan." So they go to confront Dooku together. So then when they get there, Ahsoka in a Jedi cruiser shows up, and they start attacking this separatist ship, right? And Dooku's sitting there, and he's like real chill about the whole situation, and then he like falls through a trap door.
That's because Dooku is fucking Batman, right?
Yeah.
Like
Essentially, yeah.
You guys have seen Batman Forever, right?
Yeah.
Where he's like just chilling on his 1980s cushion sit and spin, and he just gets to chill. He can close his eyes and meditate for a while, and then I guess he saw the bat signal or something. The chair just like drops out into a fucking tunnel. We're good to go. He's cruising across Gotham, going to his bat cave, I think.
Yep. Bat nibbles and everything. It's all good.
I just want to know whose idea the slide was. Was Dooku like, okay, I want to design a ship with a slide. At the top is my chair. Like, I don't know. It just seems so unnecessarily long, too. Why not just have your control center next to your ship? Like, why, like, okay, a slide has to connect it. I don't...
Yeah, that is a good question. I didn't really quite think about that.
I'm not thinking that it was Dooku's, so I looked it up, and Dooku was born in like 102 BBY and died in like 19 BBY, so this would put him at like 88 at this time. Somewhere around there. He's in his 80s. Like, even in Star Wars, like somebody who's in their 80s doesn't seem like the type of person that's going to go, I got this great idea. We're going to put my chair on top of a slide, and then if anybody breaks into my ship through the easy elevator from the roof, I can just slide down to somewhere else and hop in my solar sailor, and we're good to go.
Unless you're an 88-year-old Batman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's kept in shape. He's kept in shape. We saw him fight Yoda.
He is a rich count, too, so, I mean, pretty much Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
He is Space Bruce Wayne.
Like, he's hiring a trainer. He's keeping things together. He's keeping things together down here, right? Like,
okay.
Because there's a question, too, of, like, when you drop through, you have to be, like, dead center. Otherwise, like, your ass and your back is, like, scraping across part of the lip. Or, like, when you fall, there's an eventual part where you have to hit the slide.
It's like
then you keep going.
It's like a bad water slide with no water in it. Ooh.
Yeah. So, like, you're either getting burned or you're getting knocked, like, right? Like,
Yeah. Oh, speaking of burns, we went over this, but can we talk about Obi-Wan's sick burn on Anakin, where he was like, "When you're a Jedi Master, you can make the plans," and I'm like, I like to imagine Anakin just stewing until Revenge of the Sith. And that's what that
All the way
outburst is
through.
like. How could I be on the council and not be? I'm sick of Obi-Wan stuff.
Yeah, that was a pretty good burn. Yeah.
Got him.
And,
LOL that he never becomes a master.
Only a master of
Perpetual
evil.
Or a master of
Master
getting
of evil.
captured, which I think is what Obi-Wan calls him.
He definitely does. Obi-Wan says it. He says, at least you're a master of getting caught.
So is the person who catches the person called the master baiter? Don't mind if I do. Because he baits him to get caught. You get it, guys?
Yeah.
Oh, the
I
joke
was
is
trying to
it's his
turn that
penis.
around into like Obi-Wan.
The joke is about a penis again.
Another penis joke.
this one's definitely earning its explicit tag for sure. So I'm very, very happy we're earning that one.
So after Space Batman goes on his slide down to Dooku's ship, what do we got going on?
Oh,
then?
you mean his Punwarka
Let's see.
116 class interstellar sloop? That's the name of his solar sailor.
That is exactly what I meant. So did you?
Like I said, we're
Somebody's
the
on top of
pedantic
it.
podcast.
Yep.
I'm glad. Yeah.
Did you guys know that solar sailors are like a thing that would actually
Yeah.
work?
They're crazy.
Yeah, they're
Yes.
insane.
They just don't work at the speeds that Dooku would need them to travel. Like, he uses his solar sail as though he can travel at the same speed as like hyperspace, which that totally does
Well, so
not work
I was-
at all.
Yeah,
like a
I was
brisk
researching it. The
breeze.
tech is a little bit different. So, like, the solar sailor in real life is literally a sail is up like a sail ship, and I don't know, light pushes it and because it's in space. There's no friction. It works somehow. I'm not sciencey, but
Right.
this one,
Yeah, it works off of
Yeah.
photon reflection. Like, when the photons hit the sail, they bounce off and it pushes the sail forward.
and we see this in
Right.
clones. But Dooku's ship, the sails just recharges batteries. It's basically like a hybrid. So he lets them out to charge his batteries, and then that powers the hyperdrive and the engines and stuff like that.
So it's like a Prius with a solar panel.
There's
Gotcha,
an
that
awesome
makes sense.
Poe Dameron comic where he steals someone's like solar like a ship just like Dooku's and like sails around. It's weird. It's really fun.
So
though.
this is where my tease about
Nice.
TIE fighters come. So, do you?
Okay.
If you had to guess, they say that the solar sailor is a very expensive ship. So, how many TIE fighters do you think you can buy with if you traded in your solar sailor?
I want to say 56.
Yeah, I was gonna go closer to like 100.
I'm gonna say 3.
So I'm going to say this is according to legend, specifically the cost of the solar sailor, but it costs half as much as one TIE fighter. That doesn't seem very expensive to me.
Wow.
Because I thought the TIE fighter was like the cheaply produced
Yeah.
thing, and that's why like they fall apart. And
Yeah.
there's like no shielding and stuff. So that's why
Yeah,
I went
that's
big
what I
with
thought,
my
too.
number.
Yeah, I feel like Mike already knew the answer to this, and
No, I was just thinking like, how much could you trade your sailboat for to get a tank?
It is actually classified as a yacht, so that is a good point. Yeah, I think it's like
Interesting.
35,000 credits or something like that, and a TIE fighter's close to 90.
We could almost buy a whole ship for that. I can pilot it.
Yeah, so might just be an error, but that's the research I did. Also, do you know what the ship that the Jedi use is called? It's a Nemoidian ship. It's a Sheathipede class transport shuttle.
That was a boring fact.
Sheathipede.
like a centipede, but
I
only
guess.
with 4 legs.
It's just weird to me. Sheathipede.
Huh.
Sure.
Yeah. But I will say that in Rebels they steal one
Lucas, I'm assuming.
in Rebels, and that becomes the new Phantom. So we're tying it together to our podcast.
Yeah.
You'll get to that in 6 or 7 years.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, these long form podcasts, especially with the amount of tangents we all keep going on.
So basically, Dooku slides down a slide to his ship. He takes off. The Jedi follow him. We got some space battling going on. Both of them are damaged one way or another. The whole time, Obi-Wan and Anakin are just fucking talking shit to each
Or they
other.
bicker like an old married couple.
Right. This is how you show that they were great friends. So then they crash land on a planet that I know I've written down, but I don't know where it is.
It is
Vancor.
Vancor.
which they don't name until much later.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's kind of a running theme with Star Wars in general. Like, if you get a name, it comes much later than you.
When the toy
really
comes
want
out,
it.
basically.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Mhm.
Or a card game where they have
We're-
to name it.
Right. As far as these episodes go, we're always like 2/3 of the way through the episode before you fucking figure out who new people are or where you're at or what's going on. If it's not in the newsreel, it's like the beginning of the third act is when you figure out what the fuck's going on.
Yeah.
So they both crash land near each other. Dooku supposedly like stuck some fucking homing beacon in the outside of his ship, which sounds like a ridiculously dumb plan.
Yeah, why doesn't the ship
Or
already
lock
have
it up in your glove
Like,
compartment.
Or just
Yeah.
like hit the fucking
Yeah.
homing beacon button like on your console
Right.
before you get out.
Or just keep it running so somebody hears it. Like,
Something.
Or just
But-
send them a text message. This is where I landed.
yeah. Like, I'm on Vancor. Send help, please.
Come and get me. I'm on Vancor.
Okay, thanks, bye. Like,
Obi-Wan says essentially like, oh great, whatever. Anakin destroys the thing and he's like, yeah, now nobody's going anywhere. So Obi-Wan's plan is like, hey, there's a cave, let's go in the cave. Which bites them in the ass because as they're walking around trying to figure out why the fuck they're in a cave, Dooku like collapses the fucking thing on them, which brings back what Mike was saying earlier with the space air bubbles like around their heads that
Yeah.
Jedi can do like out in space or underwater. I think you were
Yeah.
talking about, right?
Yeah.
So we clearly see Obi and Annie just getting smashed by fucking tank-sized boulders,
yeah.
and then Dooku craftily steals Anakin's lightsaber with some snarky comment about how great he is and how he needs it, or Anakin won't, or something like that. Some other shit happens, and then you just see like Anakin stand up with the boulder above his head, and then like I guess force pushes it and like runs out from under it or something.
Yeah, he, like, kind of shoves it aside.
Right.
It's like, away you go, over there.
Right. So at that point, he can't find his lightsaber, and then we run into a Gundark.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this, I feel like Gundarks remind me of like any boss in Diablo, that
Total.
video game. I was like, when it came out, I'm like, I feel like I'm playing this is a mini boss right now. This is tight.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what I thought, too. Yeah.
So
Boss from any sort of video game, generally, like...
So,
Mhm.
this is the
Yeah.
first time we've ever seen a Gundark in a show or TV. It was on a game way back in the day. But, the first reference, right?
Yep.
Is in Empire.
Yes.
Han, when Luke recovers,
Yep.
says, you look strong enough to pull the ears off a Gundark. So I thought it was interesting that he had, like, little bunny ears. Which, first of all, doesn't look that hard to pull ears off of that thing. It didn't look like they were very meaty. Secondly, that's animal cruelty, and I do not approve.
What
Now,
about, like, when they slice open the thing? Are you cool with that because it's already
Yeah,
kind of
that's
dead?
fine.
Or...
Yeah.
Yeah, it's roadkill.
Yeah. I just
Yeah,
hope
okay.
that the plot of Solo is just like
Finding the
his
line.
journey down into like torturing animals. Where he's like, I'll capture these Gundarks and I'm going to pull their ears off. I need to know how hard it is.
That's what he's smuggling. Gundark ears is
Yeah.
what he's smuggling in the box. Like,
We didn't know what he was going to do with those rolly
Just
things
like-
in Force Awakens.
ears, claws, noses, whiskers, just like little prizes that he can go back to and stroke and think about his kills.
Weird.
Oh boy.
Well, I think the comments made in the trailer, right? Like once you get into this life, you can't get out of it, or you're
Once
here
you
for
get
good
into
or
the
something.
animal torture life, it's hard to get out.
Yep, I think you're onto something.
Once you've killed an animal, you're always a killer. Like, there's no going back.
So at this point, after Dooku runs off with Anakin's lightsaber, we meet a bunch of pirates, which we were talking about earlier, which also leads us to eventually their ships, right? Which are these UFOs. Lorenzo, you want to talk about those?
Yes. So, real quick, I find it really interesting that Dooku meets the salvagers. We never get any names from a said
Oh, I didn't notice
important
that.
character. They
Interesting.
never name him.
Really?
He keeps talking.
Yeah,
He keeps
no.
talking.
I definitely noticed that.
Yeah. And at no point does anybody go, hey, I'm Hondo, or this is
Huh.
Hondo, or hey, maybe,
Do you
You're
think
talking-
it's
like, what's your name?
Do you
You're
think
ta-
it's because they weren't sure he was going to be a reoccurring character yet, and it was just kind of like it was like a thing after, it was like, oh, this has been a successful character, let's bring him back and like name him.
I don't know if I can agree with that based on the way that the end of this episode concludes.
Yeah, I would agree with
Fair.
Kevin on that.
I
But
was
also-
going to just ask
Go ahead.
leading into this, how do you feel about Hondo showing up? Because I will preface it with, he might be my least favorite character in Rebels. I find him very cartoony.
Interesting.
I mean, it's a cartoon, so it makes sense.
I almost find
Yeah,
him
it's like-
offensive. I mean, I was going to ask you about this, Peter. Like, it's kind of like, I'm like, I mean, when they walk into the
Oh my
pirate,
gosh, I
like,
hope you're
the
gonna say
pirate
what I'm-
lair,
what-
there's like, kind of vaguely, like, I mean, you're Middle Eastern. There's like this, almost this music that's like vaguely reminiscent of like Middle Eastern culture, and like, there's a few tropes thrown in there.
I
that are
literally
kind of,
wrote in
like,
my notes.
a little stereotypical, and I was like, wow, this is borderline.
I
offensive.
literally wrote
you
in my
thinking that?
notes when they walk into the cave. This music kind of offends me, and I don't
Oof.
know why.
Well, it's because it's like, I mean, you think about cartoons that we're looking back at now and going like, okay,
Yeah.
that wasn't cool. Like, you think about like when Popeye, like there's this famous cartoon, it's like Popeye and Alibaba and the 40, I forget what it's called, the 40 something.
Thieves?
Yeah, the 40 Thieves, yeah. It's a really, we look back at that now, and there's so many things you can look at and be like, this is really offensive, like the cultural stereotypes. And I feel like that whole scene is somewhat like it almost brought me back to that cartoon, where I was like, ooh, this is a little too close for me. Like, I feel a bit weird about it.
Dave Filoni said that the whole reason of introducing these characters is because George loves 1940s pirates, like old pirate movies.
Mm-hmm.
And I could totally see the influence, but I feel like it's a little bit like the Jar Jar problem or the Toydarian problem. What's his name? The guy who... Yeah, Watto problem,
Watto.
where it's just like there's a little bit of like,
Yeah.
he's like, oh, I love that stuff from the 40s, but like he didn't kind of like sensitize it, if that's a word.
Yeah. Kevin and I have definitely talked about the Watto
Yeah.
problem and
Yeah.
the Newt gun rape
yeah,
in
totally.
Phantom Menace problem.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, so there's definitely a few of these things where it's this weird thing where like I can't tell if George is trying to pull in influence from other cultures the way that he pulled like from the Japanese culture for A New Hope, but then like lost the filter and was just like, yeah, just give Newt that really weird Asian Chinese accent thing that's going on, and then same thing here. Like, sure, the pirate influence is fine, but I agree with the music. Like, I was, I wasn't deeply offended by it, but I didn't get the motivation of referencing that sort of
Yeah.
Middle Eastern music at all. Like, there was no
Yeah.
reason for it.
Yeah, Lorenzo is usually the one that picks up on all or has more to say about the music. So when we get to that point, my notes just say music ? Lorenzo ?
Nice.
Well, I'm glad. Well, it said something that all four of us picked up on it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think,
we're not-
working theory is
I- yeah,
just,
I'm-
and I think this is pretty common, I'm not breaking new ground, but, George Lucas had governors, like Amakara governors, not like people who govern a province. He had like governors when he was making the original movies where like if you read his first script, it's bananas. They made a Dark Horse comic of it, and it's bad, real bad. But he had all these people around him, namely his wife, some of the other producers, the people who directed the movies other than the first
Yep.
one, who can kind of moderate that, where he's like, oh, I'm inspired by these samurai movies and Kurosawa. And so, like, he brought all that in, probably offensively, and other people are like, let's clean this up a little bit. But he didn't have any of that in the prequel, so he's just like doing the same things, probably just bringing it in, taking from all these cultures, and not really thinking about the sensitivity of it. And there's nothing, again, I'm not trying to be a baby about it. Like I was saying, like this music kind of offends me, but I don't know why. Like, there's nothing there that I was like, it's not like what's the puppet movie, the Train Matt Stone one, where it's like the terrorists or Team America are walking
Team
around just
America.
durka, like
Durka.
that's like
Yeah.
pretty blatantly offensive
Durka Jihad.
for a purpose, right? But so there's nothing there that
Yes,
blatantly
yeah.
offended me. It was unsettling.
Yeah, I'll agree with that sentiment there. And again, it's because I don't it comes out of nowhere, and I don't know what it's doing. Like,
Yeah.
it's like when they're
Yeah.
moving a rock, and then the music shows up, and I'm like,
Yeah.
was that necessary there?
Yeah. Well, it's just so clearly evocative of a pre-existing culture
Yeah.
that it's like you can't say you don't want us to think about this culture because
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I believe everything is intentional, and 1,000 people look at this before it's released,
yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
people were signing
Yeah.
off and going like,
And I
yeah,
think
okay,
what-
yeah. And even they were even signing off on, we're going to insinuate that this lady is a stripper here, and these pirates are watching.
Yeah, I think what I'm
her.
kind of feeling is that exactly what you're hitting on. Because if it was one of the 1940s movies, it would be, all these brown people would be played by white guys in brown face, and they would be passed out on their tables from huffing their heroin pipes and have strippers everywhere. Like, oh, look at these savage brown people. And so it's not that, obviously, but it's evocative of that. And yeah, it's kind of weird.
Mm-hmm.
But do you want fun facts to get us back on Star Wars? All right, so I have a
Sure. What you
canonical
got?
one. So the pirates are all Weequay,
Correct.
and
Yeah, completely guard.
they have very tough skin because they have harsh environment on their homeworld, tough enough that it's resistant to blaster fire. So that's why they're bodyguards a lot of the
Interesting.
time.
So is their home world is not
No.
Florum,
Nope.
right?
I don't know
No.
what it is, but it's not Florum.
I didn't look it up either. And the only reason I bring up Florum is because when Dooku meets this unnamed pirate character that we all know as Hondo Ohnaka, they have an interchange where they're both like, "Who the fuck are you? Who the fuck are you?"
Mhm, yeah.
Like, so they have a little standoff, whatnot, and Hondo pressures him into taking a ride over to Florum, which is supposedly like the closest planet, which is, he says, is 6 parsecs away. So I looked into how big a parsec is, which it's like just over 3.25 light years, which means that Florum is, what is it, 19 light years away. So then I looked and I was like, all right, so for one planetary body to actually be like 19 light years away from another planetary body just doesn't seem very logical.
Well, so the
right?
thing about
So-
that is, if you realize, and I'm prefacing this again, this is before Solo, so they'll probably retcon all this just like they did in Rogue One with the Death Star flaw. But in
Right.
Star Wars, a parsec is a measure of time. But in our world, it's a distance. So when he says, like, I did the Kessel Run
It's-
in less than 12 parsecs, he's talking about the time it took.
It's not. It's
What?
It's not though. So
My
he's
whole life
talking
is a
about.
lie.
He's talking about the. He's talking about the distance that he traveled to complete this journey. So basically, what Han Solo did is.
Han Solo just fucked up.
He used a different path of travel to use celestial bodies to help accelerate his craft to different speeds, which cut off actual distances. So basically, he's saying that he ran like a 5K and 4.5K
Okay.
is what Han Solo is saying.
Yeah.
Is that like saying I watched 60 minutes in a half hour?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. That's basically what Solo's saying there. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
sped it up.
Blowing
Watch
my
that.
mind, guys.
Right. It's
Because that was like that was established in Legends at some point, wasn't it?
and I
Like
I
he
think
zoomed closer to like a black hole than anybody
Yeah.
else had ever done before, or something like that.
right.
It's also backed up in, if you read, there's a really great Han Solo comic book arc where he does another race called the Dragon Void, and he, like, along the way, like,
Yes.
picks up all these rebel spies, and they touch upon that as well in those books, like, very briefly, but it kind of backs up what you guys are saying.
okay.
Yeah, that one I did read. I remember that one.
That was a cool one.
Yeah. The comics are good. I just
Yeah.
am very behind on them. So
They're so good. I think they're the best thing that's being put out. Like, the books are really, really bad. I think they're genuinely really bad. But I think the comic books are. It's weird. I think they're so. I think they're so good.
To me, the books are hit and miss. That's how I feel about the books. Like
I
I
lo-
really like
Yes,
Lost
yes, yes,
Stars.
Yes. Okay. Yes. So Peter and I will agree with you. See, like Lost Stars is what's great, but what's great about Lost Stars is it doesn't deal with characters we know and love, so they have so much more freedom to do whatever they want. But when you write a book about Luke Skywalker, it's just a bunch of guys sitting around in a bar going, "Well, the story I heard about
Oh my
Luke
gosh,
Skywalker
exactly.
is." And it's like this isn't a
This
book
is
about
such
Luke
a good
Skywalker.
segue. Speaking of Luke Skywalker book and how it's bad, have either of you read it?
Uh-huh. No,
No, I
I've
have
heard about it.
I have not
Yeah.
read any of the new canon shit.
So there's
And I'm not calling it shit
Yeah.
because it's bad. I'm just saying
You
that
just
I
said
haven't.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
like you said, Lost Stars is
Oh.
dope. The other Claudia Gray book, I always get him confused. Bloodline is really, really good. There's a couple other good ones, but the Luke Skywalker one is terrible. And there's a story in it about a Kowakian monkey lizard, which you will notice that Hondo has one on his shoulder. His name is Pliff
Yeah, it
Mumuk,
does indeed.
in case you were wondering. But so in that book, they establish that every Kowakian monkey lizard has a mole, what's it called? A flea mole on their back that's a sentient being of high intelligence that's the size of a flea. So people can't see them. And the monkey lizards are stupid. So these moles live on their back and talk to them. And so the story in the book is from the perspective of this flea mole that lived on the back of Salacious B. Crumb's back, about how Salacious Crumb is a moron and he's not funny. And I came up with all of his routines and I'm the funny one and no one gives me credit. And so it's talking about the Han Solo rescue at Jabba's palace from the perspective of this flea mole.
Is
So
this
that's the weird thing.
canon?
It's obviously canon because it's in
Yes,
that book.
it is
But I looked it
canon.
up on Wikipedia, and there's a reference of like a flea mole is a tiny sentient creature, but it doesn't talk about the book. Maybe it's because there's an embargo about like because the book's relatively new. But yeah, it's canon.
It's canon, and some of the things that happen in the book, I love that are canon. Because I'm like, that is so wild. I would have never thought about that. And I'm like, I know some people hate this, but I love how ridiculous it is. Like, I love that Will Huff Tarkin was in a romantic relationship with TK-421, who got his armor taken from him by Han Solo.
Yeah, that's a
in
dope
New
story
Hope.
too.
Like stuff like that. I'm like, people are like, "What? You're ruining my movies!" And I'm like, "This is great. Over-explained
Yeah.
everything. I love it.
Yeah.
I just think it's hilarious."
Yeah, the books sit in an interesting little spot because they're coming out real fast with a shit ton of them. So I've only read like a handful of them, and it's impossible for me to keep up. But I actually sat in on a panel with Chuck Wendig, and I asked him about the oversight they have. And when he wrote the 3 Aftermath books, he was like, "No, they just told me like they gave me a very thick fence of what not to touch, and then anything else on the other side of that fence was like
That's
a
really
fair
interesting.
game thing."
Nice.
I would only have one
So-
question for him if I was on a panel with him.
Yeah.
I would just look him in the eyes and say, "Why?" Just why?
Mike's a literature guy, so he's a little snobby about it. I will say
No, I just think Aftermath is the bottom of the totem
Well,
pole.
so I will say
Because he
Yeah.
also wrote them very quickly. I don't disagree.
his
with
writing
you.
style is very funky, but I will say that I just revisited Aftermath. I tried reading it when it first came out, and I gave up. And I think part of the reason with a lot of these novels and what I am seeing are all the Road to the Last Jedi, Road to the Force Awakens books shouldn't be read when they're released because I found Aftermath way more enjoyable now that I know the bigger picture a little bit because if they told us about how they didn't in the book really, but it kind of touches on how the First Order was formed and the Battle of Jakku and what that led to, and it's like I don't even know what the First Order is. Like that's the first time I've ever heard those words. Like why do I care about how this thing was formed? But now that I know that, that's super interesting now. So I agree, but it's just a weird, touchy place, and I have more of an affection for Aftermath trilogy now that I've revisited it. But yeah, his writing style is weird.
Okay, but can I make a comment about the show that we're
No, evidently
discussing
not.
today?
Have at it.
No. No, I hate to pull us back on track, but the Kowakian monkey lizard in this pirate lair
Yes.
is serving drinks. And I could never picture Salacious B. Crumb as a sentient enough being or just like tame enough to get his shit together to serve a drink to anyone. Like, he just seems too hysterical, so it's so funny that in this Clone Wars episode, not only is he being outrageous, but he's also serving
you and that
drinks.
flea mole will have a lot in common in that. Because you both think he's an idiot.
I think that's probably out of necessity, whereby this Kowakian monkey lizard would probably not last very long with all these pirates if he wasn't useful, whereas Salacious B. Crumb can just kind of sit around and get fat and fucking do whatever and make Jabba laugh every once in a while, and Jabba will toss him some frog things, you know. Whereas this guy actually has to have some function.
Yeah, that's fair.
Well, I guess the Jabba's relationship is that he made a deal with Salacious B. Crumb that if he can make Jabba laugh once a day, then he will get all the food and drink he wants. But if he doesn't laugh for one day, then Jabba's going to execute him.
Oh, that's the same deal my wife and I have.
So
some high stakes. Those are some high stakes.
do you have to make her laugh, or does she have to make you laugh?
It's kind of an up in the air thing. It just depends.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Someone's going to
Two-way
laugh,
street
or else
there.
there's an execution.
Yeah.
I will say
Keep
for the
going.
show though, this Pliff, whatever his name is, Pliff Muck, has the lightsaber, and I feel like monkey lizard with a lightsaber is some sort of hillybilly Tatooine saying, like, oh, he has no idea what he's doing. He's as good as a monkey lizard with a lightsaber.
So
that sounds right.
They're on
Yeah.
Florum to get Count Dooku, right? And they're specifically visiting Hondo to get Count Dooku because he is their prisoner now, right?
Right, because Hondo gave Sheev a call and said, yo, I got Dooku. Because, so, when this whole thing started with Dooku going with Hondo's like, hey, nice ship, I'm going to take it. Dooku's like, yeah, take it, whatever. And then Hondo figures out that who Dooku is. He's a big deal, whatever. He says something like, oh, the leader of the droid army and a Jedi. And he's like, oh, you're going to be worth a lot. And Dooku's like, yeah, call my boss, you know, like, he'll fucking pay to get me out of here. And Hondo's like, nah, I ain't that dumb. Like, I'm gonna call the boss of the other guys, and they'll pay even more. So he calls in a Sheev, and then what's he demand? Like $1 million credits?
$1 million credits in spice.
Such an Austin Powers moment. $1 million.
My note says the same thing. Like,
Yeah.
Well, I liked this because really think about it. So spice is a drug in Star Wars. So somehow this random pirate has a direct line to the president of the galaxy and tries to negotiate a drug deal with him.
Yeah, that's. I did wonder how
Maybe Dooku
Hondo
gave him
was
the
able.
digits.
Yeah,
I didn't even think of that. Like, that's a good point. And
and not only is he calling Palpatine, but like the whole like Yoda's there, Mace is there, Padme's there. They're all just like hanging out, like listening to this dude.
Jar Jar's there.
There
The
it is.
important
There's
one.
the tie-in.
Doing his thing.
Senator
Real
in
quick.
training.
We passed the point. So once they got to Florum, this is when we see the spinning flying saucer design thingy.
Yep.
That doesn't really quite make sense because it's spinning very quickly, and then from the spinning mothership, like the little, like
The
passenger,
baby flying saucer.
yeah, the baby, like a baby flying saucer, like pops out of its belly and then like goes.
Well,
off.
I like that it has the beam of light. Just like it's pulling someone up, but it's I don't know. Maybe they just have the garage light on. Yeah,
but it didn't do anything. Yeah, there's a beam of light. Yeah,
Yeah, I think I wrote something similar to like mother UFO gives birth to baby UFO.
Yeah, and then it just like whizzes down onto the surface of Florum. So we've had this discussion regarding motherships and their inability to like land anywhere, or they're just kind of always orbiting. But the outside world thing I wanted to bring up with the saucer is, so the air date of this episode is January 2nd, 2009, which would put this at about 9 months after Indiana Jones 4 came out.
The best Indiana Jones.
The Crystal Skull one. Yes. So I personally do like that one, so I'm not a hater on that one.
I mean, I'm a big Boof head.
The
so
idea that
anything Shia LaBeouf does, I'm good with.
The beef. So I find it very interesting that George Lucas was doing whatever he could to get 50s influence, flying saucers, spinning saucers into whatever the fuck he could.
So do you think that he left the Crystal Skull set and like wandered into Dave Filoni's office and was like, "Hey, Dave, you got the work up on those flying saucers?" And Dave was like, "Fuck, flying saucers!" Like, yeah, George, we're on it, we're on it. And George just like
he just grabbed his lunch plate and was like,
yeah,
this is the model we've been working on.
Yeah, this is it.
It's right here. It's right here. Like, I'll try spinning. That's a good trick. Like,
he like takes a pencil, 2 paper plates, and just goes like, "Here you go,
George
guys."
Lucas might just have really bad taste. Like, I feel like he walked out of Crystal Skull and was like, "That movie was amazing. I need to do more of that. Now I'm going to eat a pickle and peanut butter sandwich."
Like, where a flying saucer will definitely fit in the Star Wars universe. Great, that sounds fantastic.
It
definitely fit in Crystal Skull. So yeah, let's throw it over here. Yeah, like his nostalgia and love for 50s, like from American Graffiti, just like never died. But the rest of the world had like moved on,
Interesting.
And then suddenly we're getting like I'm with Ike references again. Like,
I just ate at a Mel's Diner. I don't know if you have that where you guys are. It's like a 50s diner.
There's
diner
one down
thing
here,
that's open all night, and I felt like I was in George Lucas's wet dream.
See, I've only been to one once for the exact reason of the George Lucas reference, but the one I went to was on Hollywood and Highland, which is very not.
Yeah,
that one I've been there, and that makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah, that one's like.
Because they
really
go to
weird.
a Mel's Diner in American Graffiti. That's the diner they're at. Okay.
Yeah, but that one, the one they filmed at, is gone
Sad.
in real life, which makes me very sad. Otherwise, I'd make my way to that one, but Hollywood and Highland is it. That's. There's a few others around. Like there's one like in Universal Studios, which is
Very
also
weird
to me. Like
All I have
yes,
to
of all places to
I'll
eat,
have
let's
to
go
s-
to Mel's Diner.
All I have to say about diners is Camino Saber Darts.
What do you know? Yeah. Growing up in the Midwest, I do love diners. I've had this conversation with other friends where I'm like, can we go get like a burger and shake somewhere? And they're like, why do you want that right now? I'm like, because burgers and shakes are the fucking jam, okay? Like, they are where it's at.
I once went to Chicago for a friend's wedding, and like the after wedding thing was everyone was like, let's go to Steak and Shake. And I was like, what the hell is this place? And everyone was just eating burgers, and it was magical. It was actually
Frisco melts, man.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
place is good.
I was
Yeah,
just gonna bring up Steak and Shake, thinking of this whole.
I should get
That's my
another
favorite
burger.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna take a 10-minute break.
You go.
So Cedar can go get another burger.
You go get another burger. We're gonna talk about plot for a little bit. Bring us back to
Frisco Melt now, though. Damn.
Vancouver and the shenanigans going on with Obi-Wan, Anakin, and this Gundark, which is apparently female. If I'm reading my
Real
notes
quick,
correctly.
quick
Yeah.
fire. I do want to mention they do mention by name Vancouver. They do mention by name Florum, and later on they do eventually mention the Gundark by name as a species. So, and yet Hondo still goes unnamed. So,
Yeah, Vancouver and Gundark are like in the same interaction,
yeah,
because I think Anakin's like, this fucking Gundark's chasing me. Or
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. Obi-Wan
He's
says something about a
basically
Gundark, and Anakin says, well, they're only on Vancor. And Obi-Wan's like, well, duh, dipshit,
This
then we
must
must be on Vancor.
On Vancor.
Like, come on.
How about that? Yeah.
Hondo is, by the way, such a lazy name. I mean, like Han, Solo, Lando. Like, I don't know. It's just
Yeah.
a little lazy to me.
Yeah, he's a pirate, just like those two characters. What if he was like sort of like them, but not at all?
Oh, I forgot. I had a second pirate fact. If you notice, other than Hondo, every single pirate in this episode is the same character model. They just have different accessories on.
Yep, definitely noticed that. I noticed two walking next to each other in the exact same motion, too, and I was like, ooh, that's noticeable.
Well, so there's two. There's
Yeah,
like a male,
yeah,
there's
you're
a
right.
female, and then other than that, Dave Filoni, when Dave Filoni or Killian Plunkett, right, talks about how they're like fucking the paper dolls,
Yeah, totally.
where it's just a bunch of interchangeable parts. Or I guess a Mr. Potato
Yeah.
Head would probably be more
Well, I get.
accurate.
Yeah.
Where it's just a bunch of different accessories that they can stick on them so they look like different people.
Yeah, they said because they specifically, it wouldn't be believable that Dooku would be captured by Hondo and just a small crew. The only way you can overpower someone as powerful as Dooku is with numbers if you're not a Jedi. And so George Lucas was specifically like, we need like 50 people on screen at one time.
And if
and everybody's
that's
sitting there like,
Yeah,
we have
totally.
3 weeks to remember this, guys. Like, Control C, Control V, Control C, Control V. Like,
and if
Control
that's
V. Like,
if that's not enough to figure out, you have to have Hondo tell Dooku like, oh, you might be a Dark Lord of the Sith or whatever, but we can still capture you because
Yeah,
we have
totally.
more people.
yeah. There
Like,
you go.
It's like the
explicitly.
Geonosians
So.
against all the Jedis in the underrated Attack of the Clones.
Yeah, back to this show. Kevin and I have definitely had conversations, or more so, I've definitely ranted a lot about the animation quality of this show and how rough it is to kind of judge. Like, on one hand, I'm like, well, it's a TV show. I get that budgets are a thing, but at the same time, it's very difficult for my eyes to look at.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, this came out in what,
Yeah.
2008?
so,
Yeah.
2008. And
Yeah.
I think we figured out that the budget per show is like 2 million, 1 million per show. Is
Oh.
all
1
the-
million per
Wow.
shit ton. Yeah.
Right.
Holy. Wow, that's kind of
Yeah.
crazy,
I didn't know
actually.
Yeah.
1 million per
Yeah.
show.
And then the movie, which essentially was 4 episodes of the Clone Wars just smashed together, was like 8 million. So it comes out to, for 6 years worth of shit and 125 episodes, it's like $130 million.
That's a lot of hot rods for old George.
Right.
But do you know what's even more interesting than that is Christopher Lee's metal band. Ever get heard of it?
Yeah.
Yes.
You have.
He
Okay,
holds
so
the
you've
record
heard.
for being the oldest person to have released a
Okay.
metal record.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that I had a
I'm
chance.
aware.
I didn't know where it was going to. It was kind of a non sequitur because I wasn't sure how I was going to bring that up. But I just
Yeah.
wanted to.
Good.
I just wanted to drop this. So just hold on. Just listen. It's going to be poor quality. What? Yeah. Drink that in, boys. You like that shit?
We'll
That's
just
sick.
listen to this for another 20 minutes and then we'll just end the show at that point.
I just wanted to drop that in there for the listener.
Yeah, let's point out that Christopher Lee was Dracula,
Mm-hmm.
a James Bond villain,
Yeah.
and a Star Wars villain, and
Yeah.
a dentist in Willy Wonka. So he has some range to him. So
I think that's what we call getting an EGOT of this.
Which would, because that would then make him Johnny Depp's dad, right? Which
Yes.
would essentially make him the dad of Captain Jack Sparrow,
he's Captain Jack Sparrow's dad.
who is
Yeah.
Captain Jack Sparrow is basically in this episode
Oh,
later.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So we gotta get Annie and Obi out of this cave And so after they fight with this Gundark for a while,
There's like this weird gas leak they ignite, which comes out of fucking nowhere.
well, this happens
yeah.
by one of Lorenzo's favorite things, and that is occasionally Jedi fight by just like throwing shit
Yeah.
at other
Oh, yeah.
things. So Anakin's getting chased around by this Gundark, and Obi-Wan is fucking around fixing his lightsaber. And then he just like picks a rock up and throws it in the Gundark's face, and then they like crush it with a bunch of rocks from the ceiling, and then like one of those breaks a hole in the floor or something.
It's like a natural gas leak of some sort. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, not sure.
yeah.
So then they nearly die. Ahsoka saves them. They get to talk to Sheev. Sheev sends them immediately like over to make sure that Dooku is actually there on
Yeah.
Florum.
They want to check before they pay the ransom that they actually do have Dooku.
That's just smart. That's just smart, though.
Yeah.
I like that.
Because Palpatine does bring up that like holograms can be faked. Like he brings them into the hologram. There's like a very clear like line of radius where the hologram works, and Dooku like steps into it.
I like that when that happens. We've talked a lot about the way that holograms work and a lot about the way that shields work, but that's more just me rambling about how shields work, which I don't get to do on this episode. I just wanted to talk about shields, so I was going to bring up how I don't get to talk about them. But yeah, it's a good effect. He just like grabs Dooku, pulls him
He
in,
just pulls them in. Yep.
and then he's like,
"Ugh."
he's like, oh, he's embarrassed. He didn't have much to say, and like shoves him back out of the way. And Sheev's like, you might be faking. I don't know if I believe
Yeah.
you. So they
Yeah,
send.
the fact that Dooku doesn't talk does make Sheev's point more understandable. Like, yeah, we're gonna double check that if
Right.
you don't mind.
So then at this point, Padme just like pushes Sheev out the way and takes over the negotiations, because that's the way that things work when a pirate is talking to a president.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Yeah, we'll send 2 Jedi your way. Like, I know one. He's good. He's real good." And then the negotiation is that they can't take any weapons with them. She's like, "Deal."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
So-
she's very quick.
Anakin and Obi-Wan are like, "What the fuck?" Like,
Well, I've got
this
to
is
imagine
retarded.
that like they were
Ev-
relieved.
yeah.
Like, oh yeah, oh yeah, totally. It's understandable. I mean, we have our weapons. We totally have them, and they're not broken at all. But I mean, we could leave them here. That's fine. I think that's fine for diplomacy.
See, I
Chill,
imagine
chill,
like
guys.
I imagine Obi-Wan was like, "Hey, Anakin, you know how I'm the
Yeah.
master and you're not the master? I'm going to need you to stash my lightsaber for me."
I do love that a lightsaber breaks in this episode, because I took a note on that, and I was like, it's nice to see a lightsaber break. I don't know if, if you're thinking about where, like, is this the first time you've ever seen a lightsaber break?
The
You
Last
don't see it
Jedi.
happen in.
It's
I guess you can see one get cut in half in Phantom Menace.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
going to say that it's the first time that you see damage to a lightsaber that isn't either caused by another lightsaber
Yeah.
or the Force.
Yeah, where to a
Yeah.
point
Yeah,
where
it's like a
unusable.
pedestrian.
So I
It's
like
a pedestrian.
I like
damage.
that.
It's like he almost just dropped it. It was like, oh crap!
It's
he
like break-
cracked his phone screen.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Cracked
Which I-
phone screen. He's sending it to some like
Yeah.
third party fixer.
And it's all a payoff. Like, Obi-Wan's lightsaber ceasing to work is a payoff to like him talking shit to Anakin earlier, because like Anakin climbs out from underneath this giant fucking boulder and he's like, "I don't know where my lightsaber is," and Obi-Wan's like, "Oh, where'd it go?" And he was like, "It got knocked out of my hand." So Obi-Wan's like, "What, by a rock? Like, oh, you fucking dildo, you lost your lightsaber because you got hit with a rock." And then 5 minutes later in their story arc, Obi-Wan's lightsaber doesn't work because it got hit by a rock. So
Yeah, Obi-Wan is particularly sassy in this episode, isn't he?
he's kind of a douche.
I feel like
got
they
a
just take
hard
his
sass.
most salient qualities, like, what's Obi-Wan like? And they just, like, go wild with them. Like, he's sassy. Like, that's his thing. And they just go overboard on it.
They turn that up to 11.
Well, I like-
I don't know if I don't know if it's jumping ahead, but I love that when they actually meet Hondo, that they're like, okay, we want to see Dooku, and Hondo goes, I'll arrange a meeting for you.
Yeah.
Like, what? You mean walk us down the hall? That's not arranging a meeting. You're just walking us down the hall. He's your prisoner.
Yeah, there is. So, yeah, when they do get to Florum, there is this weird kind of scene that does nothing because of that. I don't know what the scene is there for. Like, if it's only to establish that Hondo and the Jedi are meeting, I don't. But then Hondo is such a dick about it that it doesn't do anything. And then the next scene, they're walking down that hallway, but Hondo's not there. They're like, okay, let's double check he's alive, and they open a door.
Well,
Like, there he is.
Yeah, there's nothing about that previous scene that establishes them walking down
Well,
the
I thought
fucking
it was-
hallway. Like,
Call your
Except-
boss. Tell him to send
I
my
thought it was good
drugs.
character.
Except for the best thing in the episode happens right there. The greatest thing. I laughed. I legitimately LOL'd when there was a scene where a Jawa gets punched in the face
oh yeah,
and is knocked back so far that it bumps into someone else, and like the other guy gets so mad, and I was like, that was genuinely funny. I actually I thought that was a really piece of successful like comedy.
So did you catch the tail end of that? Like a Weequay punches the Jawa.
Yeah.
The Jawa
Yeah.
hits a Weequay. The Weequay turns around, doesn't see the Jawa, starts fighting the first
Yeah.
Weequay.
Yeah.
And then
It's
the Jawa,
hilarious.
then the Jawa jumps up and he's like, "I'm getting in on this
Yeah.
fucking brawl too," and like
it's so good.
runs over and dives
I wrote
on
a
top
note
of both
about
of
that.
them.
I need to make.
Yeah, I
think
wrote a
that is
note about
gift.
that I feel like that must be an inside joke for the people creating the show, because he gets punched, right? Like the Jawa's walking up and he goes the same thing Jawas always say. He goes, "Utini!" But like before he gets up, he's like, "Utin!" Punch in the face, and it's like, "Shut up, Jawa!" I'm sure there's one animator who just hates Jawas. He's like, "I'm gonna punch that guy right in the face."
just wants to see.
Yeah, one more Utini. I
Oh,
swear to God, one more Utini. I'm gonna punch you in the face.
And there's some distance that Jawa
Yeah.
travels too when it gets punched the first time. Like,
Yeah,
it definitely
that's
flies
That's the best
back.
part.
It's a good
it's
like
so
three.
good.
It's a good like 3-4 meters that
Oh,
it flies
God.
across the screen.
It's so funny. Now I want to punch a Jawa so bad. That is so good.
I like how this show is just making us
Yeah.
racist against Jawas.
All the other racism's fine, but
Making us.
Jawa racism.
And they're just trash collector people.
At least they're not the sand people. Jeez, like
I wrote a note here that I'm trying to figure out what I meant, and it just says, I thought it was going to be a strip club, but it turned out just to be some Titanic stuff.
What?
Oh, was
I
that
don't know.
because of the like dancing on the table? Because it's not
That's
a
what
strip,
it
like-
was. Oh, okay,
so
there it is.
You see like some legs
Do
on the
you?
table,
yeah.
and you assume
Wow. I don't know
that
how you
it
just
is some
figured that
type
out.
of stripper situation, because I thought something similar. I was like, oh,
'Cause
there's a stripper.
There's another music cue that happens right here.
Mhm.
There's another music cue that happens when they get into the bar situation. Again,
I just called it the pirate
unprovoked.
party.
yeah, the pirate party with no visual cue as to why the music would sound this way. There's like that weird Celtic like flute thing that pops up right about now, and it's very Titanic-esque. I had that thought too. I was like,
wow.
I got flashbacks to like Rose and Jack dancing below decks. You know, like
Billy Zane.
Below
Love that guy.
dicks.
Wow.
Paint me
glad you
like
guys helped
one
me
of your
figure out
weak women.
my writing.
oh
Paint me like a weak way.
yeah. If there's anybody who loves Titanic more than me, you're gonna be hard pressed to find that person. So
So
Quite
speaking of this pirate party, you guys saw like this one week way fucking grab
Sexually
the
harass
waitresses
someone?
and- Yeah.
Yeah. Hashtag me too.
hashtag Misa too.
Oh my god.
Hashtag Misa too.
Yeah,
hope-
I thought that was weird. It was a little uncomfortable.
Yeah. What is this, like TVY7? Like,
Yeah, that's mostly what I was thinking. Is like I don't want to be teaching our kids. Like it was funny that she slapped him, I guess, and beat her up, but like it still like put a comedic spin on it. Like I don't know. I kind of want that not in my Star Wars.
This is from a show that has a main character that's a 13-year-old girl that wears a tube top and a mini skirt, and they get to just order around this whole race of basically slave people that they had grown so that they could fight for them. So
I guess it's on par.
Yeah, the tube top still disturbs me every time. Every time we can talk about it,
it was shocking to me because
Lorenzo.
kind of to prep for this, and then kind of just because I was interested, I tried to rewatch the Clone Wars movie, and I'm so used to seeing like the cool, strong, empowering Ahsoka. She's like,
the warrior,
have her white lightsabers and hashtag feminism, and then I like go back to this whiny, like kind of tarted up, like makes him feel weird.
Especially in that movie where.
So you're saying that in the Rebels TV series they don't call her Snips?
Yeah. Nope.
Yeah, there is that one scene where like Darth Vader's fighting her, and he's like, "So we meet again, Snips."
That scene is so freaking cool. Holy crap.
Just glad she wasn't fishnets during that scene. I would have.
I see that you finally made enough money to buy a shirt, Ahsoka.
Yeah. So watching a woman comedically getting felt up, I guess is.
I just don't want it in a kids show. I don't want it anywhere, but I especially don't want to be teaching kids that that's
yeah, it's like save that for the workplace, right, guys?
Whoa.
That's right.
Whoa.
Are you working in a Mad Men office? Is that what's happening? Like,
I work with a guy who does the scroll
Hard
in the
to know
beginning.
when you
and
cross
he's like,
the line.
He's like, "Get me some ads, fellas. Let's grab some women."
On it,
give me
boss.
another whiskey. Why is my cup empty? Peggy, come on, do your job, Peggy.
I will say that
I got nothing.
to get off of that horrible joke I meant. I will say that I like how they verify that it is Dooku. They throw tons of shade at him, which I thought was a fun scene. And then they report that back to Sheev. And he's like, "We will send Representative Binks at once." And I feel like I'd be like, "Sabotage!" Right then. He's like, "He's the Sith Lord."
Yeah, I don't understand why they're sending Binks. And he's like in the hologram. He's like, "Yeah, I'm headed over
He's
there.
a
Don't worry,
senator."
guys."
I mean, it's simple. It's simple why they send them. I mean, I don't know how you don't see it, but when you have LeBron James on your team, you don't put him on the bench. You know.
I have nothing against that. I have no counter argument to that. That's
Cue loud music.
Yeah.
There's one last thing that kind of happens in this episode that also makes me uncomfortable. So Hondo like gives them drinks in celebration.
Yeah, he's like,
to,
"Can
hang out?"
He's like, "Can I finally buy you those drinks?"
Oh yeah, that's right.
And
then this is where he Bill Cosby's their drinks.
he totally does. My question is, where did this? So Hondo offers them drinks. Obi-Wan's like, "Yeah, but nothing too strong because he's got to fly." Like pointing at fucking Anakin, and then Hondo's like, "Drinks for everybody." And you see this weak-way waitress just pull her hand up from somewhere near her waist and like drop this angel dust shit in 2 glasses. And my question is, where did she get it from? Like, has she just been walking around with this in her hand? Did she like?
Yeah, you never know when you need to drop something in someone's drink.
Oh man.
Hey, when Bill Cosby pays extra,
I do like that
the way he wants.
I do like that
Very
Kenobi
true.
and Anakin Vincini him. You know, Polio Princess Bride. What's that over there?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Do you? I don't know. Do you guys watch more episodes, or do you only watch the one? Like, have you seen the next episode?
I have. I actually have
Okay,
not.
so
seen
this is
it
my
yet.
question
Yeah,
for
I
you
have
because
not.
I was really confused about this plot. When Hondo says like, "No, like we're fine. Like we don't want to be involved with your war. We're not going to hurt the Jedi. They can be unarmed." Like I'm like, yeah, that makes perfect sense. Like why would you want to bring the fire and fury of the Separatists and the Jedi on your head? So I was really confused about why he would poison their drinks. I read the synopsis for the next episode. It makes a little bit more sense, but this out of context is so confusing to me.
I think he's just gonna get more money from. He's gonna get more money from the other side. I think it's.
Yeah, I think this is a good point to bring up something that I touched on earlier when, Mike, you were talking about, I don't know, something. I completely disagreed with you based on the end of this episode. And
Sounds about right.
This is the first episode that we've come across that just kind of like stops. Like there's stuff that happens, and then there's Hondo cheers, Obi cheers, everybody groans, like they swap their drinks. Obi and Anakin drink, cheers, and then their neighbors die.
Yeah.
Because they were poisoned, and then that's the end of the episode. And, by the way, it's to you two guys, when you hear us say cue loud music, that's because that's what we say at the end of every episode, because it's like the show stops and it's like cue loud music, and you get the you get the right.
Like, damn it.
So the episode just kind of stops. Like it doesn't have an ending.
Mm-hmm. It's not even a cliffhanger.
Right, it just has a stopping point, and it's not like a to be continued thing, even though it completely feels like a to be continued thing. So, not having seen the next episode, and Peter, you can correct me if you want to, I feel like our two quote unquote heroes are going to be in some sort of peril paired against Hondo. And that this is going to come into play, and that maybe Dooku is not going to end up being captured the entire episode.
This isn't the end of the Dooku.
Seeing as there's, I don't.
Well,
really
I will
know.
ask you then.
But
I'm not going to spoil it. But do you think that Hondo knew the drinks were drugged because he didn't do the drugging?
I do.
I do as well. I think Hondo.
I think that's how they play it in the episode, which makes it more confusing. Because
Thanks for spoiling the episode.
So I did spoil it. Sorry.
Over.
I did spoil a 10-year-old cartoon. Sorry. But so the next episode is about one of his pirates goes rogue against Hondo and tries to do some hijinks to get some money.
Oh, I love that.
Obviously,
that
the
is
superhero,
writing.
Jar Jar Binks, saves the day. But so that's what was weird to me, because he does kind of a glance after it's poison, like Hondo's like, oh, I know what you did. That's cool. But I would be led to believe that he didn't actually know, and that was on orders of whoever the other bad Weequay guy is. Guess you'll just have to tune in next week to find out.
Thanks for wrapping up.
All right, bye everyone. Good night.
Cue soft
Cue loud music.
We're just sitting back. We're like, yeah, you host, do it.
that.
Yeah, host the show. Great. Yeah, you're better at this. Like, no, but this does bring up. Oh, this episode is very oddly structured, or it's finely structured up until this like last moment where they realize they're like, oh shit, there's not an actual ending to this episode. Let's just have them drink and the two guys die. Which, does that make Anakin and Obi-Wan like cold-blooded murderers? Like,
well, like, so I saw this dual drink switch, which I thought was kind of cool, and there's like some interesting auditory effects going on with that, and then there was some other shit that went on, and then Anakin and Obi-Wan like drank their drinks, and I was like, oh yeah, because they're not gonna die. And then I completely forgot about it until like 4 seconds later, and then like these two guys dramatically just fucking croak on the table, and I was like, oh yeah, because logically that's what would happen, but like it wasn't enough to, even in that like 15 seconds, to keep my interest like all the way through from this happens, like plot, section A, B, C of said plan of not dying for the Jedi. So,
well, because it has nothing to do with anything in prior to the episode at all, other than they really like. There's like the one-liner of like, "There's a Weequay banquet afterwards. You should join us. There's gonna be a buffet and chicken or something like."
Right. That was Captain Jack Sparrow the pirate. The
Yeah, I
weak
feel
link
like when
pirate.
you really think about it,
Yeah,
not a
come
lot
join us.
happens in this episode, and then it ends weirdly. It would have made sense if it was a more natural to be
Yes.
continued, if there was some way to signify that, but I don't feel like they do that a lot in Clone Wars.
Not this one.
I don't know of any like legit straight up to be continued things like
Or at least if it's like a two-parter, like the first episode kind of has like a natural downturn to it. So at least like that part is done, and then we follow it up
right.
with
Yeah.
like there's like the Malevolence trilogy of episodes that kind of does
Oh, yeah.
that okay.
So Lorenzo, at this point, you want to we'll just transition into like the last segment of our show. Peter, Mike, what we do at the end of every show is we give each episode a thumbs up, thumbs down. So it's just your gut reaction.
Oh.
Either thumbs up, liked it, thumbs down, didn't like it, and at that point, then we can. It's kind of what we're doing right now, but we'll give our
kinda wrap
opinion
up
of it,
thoughts
and then
about-
just
yeah.
give your wrap up. You can give your, how it should have ended deal, or how much you loved it. Whatever.
It might be.
So Lorenzo, you want to go first?
Sure. This one's a thumbs down for me. For what Peter was just starting to say. There's not a lot that kind of happens in this, or there's a lot that happens that's just kind of like haphazard, right? Like the Jedi are kind of like Mary suing their way away from like the Gundarks and onto Florum, and like things are just kind of magically happen. Or like Ahsoka shows up and opens the thing, and they shut it behind them so the Gundark doesn't get them, right?
Mm-hmm.
The structure of this episode is all over the place in terms of just trying to set up some sort of danger, and also, what are we, like 19 episodes into recording? Clone Wars, I'm noticing a lot more. Like we've kind of made this explicit. There's always like an A plot and a B plot,
Yeah.
and this structure is kind of getting
Muddled.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, like, because, like, now we have Dooku, and then we have the Jedi trapped. But then they keep focusing on the trapped Jedi in the cave, but then I don't really care. I don't, like, because they go back and forth too much where, like, okay, we're undigging rocks, and then we cut back. Okay, we're undigging more rocks. Okay, then we cut back. Oh, there's a Gundark. Great. Like,
Yeah, to that comment, I did have a note at some point. It's actually the last thing that I wrote, which was plot A ? Plot B ? Like, what is plot A? What is plot B? Like, is there... Because there's clearly, like, one thing that's supposed to be going on, which has to do with, like, Dooku being captured, and then there's, like, some other rock floating / throwing / collapsing / there's a Gundark / we got to put Ahsoka in this episode also. Like,
yeah, she
doesn't
shows up
really mean anything.
just haphazardly and unnecessarily. So yeah, sometimes that structure works, and this one there's just no tension that builds up, because it's always just like a series of events that's happening. Like, oh, we're meeting Hondo, and Dooku's just kind of going along with it, and now they're just going to Florum, and now the Jedi are just following.
Right.
Like, there's no real danger present, even with a Gundark present, right? Like, so that's like, this wasn't the worst episode to me. It wasn't like horribly bad, but there are just things that don't connect, and then weird things like both the Middle Eastern music and then following it up with the Titanic Celtic music later on. Like, I got I'm confused by that. Like, so yeah. Anyways,
Yeah.
Kevin, you want to go next, or?
Yeah, that's fine. I'm actually giving this one a rare thumbs down for me as well, and it's for all of the reasons previously mentioned. It doesn't feel like a coherent statement from beginning to end, and the fact that it just kind of stops, like,
Yeah.
and you're just kind of like, okay, well, that 22 minutes and 48 seconds is over. I can get on with my life. But I think that if Dave Filoni did want to take this story and break it up, because my feeling when this episode ended was that clearly there's something that happens after these two fucking dudes die at the bar, right?
Yeah.
Like, the story continues. So if you're going to break it apart, and as we already talked about, I haven't seen The Gungan General, I don't know, in 9 years, 9.5 years, whatever, since it first came out. But, like, cut it off where Hondo is talking to Sheev. Like, have your Jedi escape from the cave. Like, Ahsoka came and rescued them, right? Hondo has talked to Sheev. Dooku is captured, right? And then give yourself a little bit more time to do some stuff in the middle that you need to, so that this other stuff doesn't seem like ridiculous, just like scene jumping and rock throwing and all this other baloney. And at that point, make the second half of it when Anakin and Ahsoka, or Anakin and Obi-Wan, go to Florum, and I don't know, whatever
they do there. Yeah.
Do whatever that they do.
Yeah,
that's my opinion. So,
yeah.
Peter,
I'll
Mike?
say that I'm going to give this a thumbs down as well, just simply for the fact that it's not the Jar Jar episode. And in the words of Jar Jar Binks, decent, berry, berry bad. Ooh, icky, goo. Thank you.
So, to that, I have one comment. Jar Jar is in 13 episodes on this show, and I think we have only covered 3. So, if you want to come back, we got 10 more to go. You might give one of them a thumbs up.
All 10 thumbs up in a row.
Wait, so out of 125, only like 13? That's
Yeah, 13. So,
boy.
that's 10%. It's over 10%.
Okay. Mike, go ahead.
It's so hard because I want to give it a thumbs up because Count Dooku is in it. Like, that's simply why I want to give it a thumbs up. But I have to give it a thumbs down only because there is no actual peril in this episode, because, first of all, Count Dooku has to live, is going to be returned, that our heroes are never actually in danger, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We know that Anakin and Obi-Wan live because of Revenge of the Sith, and that Dooku also appears there. So it's tough because there's no actual stakes to this episode for me. Because eventually where it's going, and it's not doing anything. It's just not doing anything but showing like a game of tag, more or less.
Yeah.
But I just love anytime I get to see Count Dooku talk.
Did you almost say
close
Count
to a thumbs
Doo-doo?
up, but it's a thumbs down.
I was about to ask that
Count
too.
Poodoo. Count Bantha Poodoo.
Yeah, and this episode for sure brings me back to that question I think Mike asked about if they knew Hondo was going to be important.
Yeah,
I
wonder. But
like, it's a weird episode to introduce this dude, right? Like,
yeah. Him in Rebels is awesome. I know, Peter, you were saying he's cartoonish, but when he pops up in Rebels because you stay with him so long in Clone Wars, I kind of got sentimental about it. I don't know if you feel the same.
It's interesting because so many things in Rebels changed with the finale, and I'm not going to spoil the finale because that is a little fresh, but I will say...
Yeah, I actually haven't seen the second half of the last season.
what?
It's
so good.
I didn't know that.
It's
By
insane.
the time I was able to like digitally watch it, because I'm cheap and I don't pay for cable and other shit like that, but by the time I had the opportunity to sit down and rewatch the first half of season 4 and then watch the rest of it, we were heavily into
Yeah.
recording for this show, so this is kind of taking precedence over that. So I need to take some
Well,
time.
Sit
I'll
thee
say,
down.
like, if you listen to
It
our
makes me
podcast, the
sad.
first season, I bring up space whales like every episode. I'm just like, oh, space whales, oh my gosh. But then something happens at the end of the series where I'm like, oh crap, now I like space whales. Great. And that's kind of how I feel about Hondo. I actually liked Hondo better in this because he was a little less cartoonish, a little more just like straight up piratey, kind of vagrant. And in Rebels, he's so cartoony and just like, oh my god, I'll do blah blah blah. But
you should not watch the season 4 finale and wait for us to get there so you have fresh excitement, and then come on to our very last episode coming just off seeing it.
Do you want me to do that? Like, just wait and
It's
never
gonna be-
watch
I mean-
the final episode?
I don't want. I mean, I want you to, but it's going to be like a year and a half away. So
I
to
don't.
like premiere of Resistance, like spoiling everything about Rebels.
Oh yeah, that might actually happen. So I
Yeah.
probably need to watch. Sorry, man, I probably can't do that.
First thing in Resistance. So about the ending
Yeah.
of Rebels.
yeah, it's going to happen.
I'll have to
I almost
think about
dropped
that
a
and let you know.
big spoiler like earlier in the season. I'm glad that
I know, I was
glad
about to
that
tell you to
didn't
shut
say
up.
that you said you hadn't seen it.
Even I didn't realize that. Damn, like
Yeah.
Well, it's
So-
so sick when Snoke appears.
Yeah.
just kills
when they finally
everyone.
confirm that Ezra is Snoke.
Yeah.
That's
He's
awesome.
holding like Kanan's head. Just
Cue the loud music.
yeah, cue loud music.
I have accidentally seen some things via the internet because I couldn't get my phone out of my hand fast enough. But yeah,
I've seen a solo
Oh, no.
spoiler,
Have you already? Oh no, I'm trying so hard to avoid that.
and I don't know how because I don't have social media.
Is it the
Actually,
fact
one of
that they're
one of my students yelled it at me through high school. One of my students
your students are
knows I love
jerks?
Star Wars, and it was being a
Is the
Yeah,
spoiler
it's
that
kinda
there's a
butthead.
Chewie Han
Yeah.
Solo shower scene? That's the one
but
thing
I've
I've
heard
heard
that.
about the movie. I'm trying to avoid everything, but I heard there's a shower
Are we
scene.
talking like the opening of
I don't
Carrie,
know the
or,
context.
like-
I made this joke
Yes.
elsewhere, but I was like, you thought Raylo was bad? Just wait until you see Chewbacca.
Oh no.
nice.
Oh god, I can't wait to see this. Like, I'm like fourth row too. Like, I got the best seats I could. It's not gonna be. I'm curious. We'll have to see how Solo changes everything.
Everything. It's gonna be like the Infinity Wars of the Star Wars universe.
I'm not feeling too good, Chewie. Spoilers, everybody.
I think at this point we're like a couple months past that, so we're good to go.
Yeah. So at this
Yeah.
point, we're
But
yeah.
we can't have spoilers for Rebels, which was like
Well, that's sacred ground.
yeah.
yeah.
MCU spoilers. I'm good with.
Fair game. So when Luke Skywalker shows up in Infinity Wars,
You know it's eventual.
Yeah.
There's gonna be some stupid freaking a Jedi is somehow gonna appear in a Marvel universe.
Yeah, like
and
that wouldn't be totally
It's
awesome.
gonna happen one day, or even in a comic. And it would be totally awesome. It'd be so stupid.
hey, with the Infinity Gauntlet, anything's possible. So
It's very true. So, other things that are possible is finding you guys online, social media. You know, you wanna throw any plugs out there where people can find you, listen to you, talk to you, not talk to you, ignore you, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to continue to ignore us online, then we are on Twitter a lot at Rebels Pod. That is also our Instagram name. And you can see links to our show if you like Rebels, if you like getting really geeky about spaceships and weird things, like we did a half an hour on barricades, or blockades. Like,
Okay.
My mind went
So
to
if
Les Mis,
that
which
sounds
was
interesting to you, check us out. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so somehow there is a show more pedantic than Kevin and my show, and we have found
Yeah.
it in the form of Rebels,
Yeah.
which
So
I am all for.
we took a little bit of a
So-
break. We're about to start season 2. I think we'll change the format a little bit, make it a little more user friendly, maybe. And yeah, check that out. Check out Rebels. Come talk to us. Yeah.
You
check
just plug Star Wars. Like any nerd listening to this does not know what
Yeah.
Rebels is.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen Rogue One,
There's this show made by Disney. Disney now owns Star Wars, by
There's
the
the
way,
guy-
guys.
There's a guy named Dave Filoni, and he decided to draw some pictures, and we talk about the pictures. So
Is that how the show works? They're drawing it? Oh.
more or
I
less.
think so. I met Dave Filoni one time. He drew me a picture.
Oh,
so
that's
I'm pretty
cool.
sure that's the way it works.
Holy crap!
That's cool.
Yeah.
Is it true?
It's, yeah. I saw him at Celebration 4 in Orlando, like the first one in Orlando. I saw him twice. Apparently, we were staying at the same hotel. So
You did that on purpose, you creepy bastard.
No,
Like,
I didn't book the hotel room, so you can't blame me.
okay.
But yeah, my buddies had like gone up to the room, and I was lagging behind, and then I'm walking in, and Dave Filoni's just like standing there waiting for his stretch Hummer limousine to go to the 501st party, and I'm like, Dave, what's up, man? Can I get a picture? And talked to him for a little bit then, and then like 2 days later or something, I saw him just in a hallway, not even like on the show floor or anything. So I of course approached him again. I had my whatever the fucking $30 book is that you can buy for Star Wars Celebration. That
Like the commemorative program thingy.
yeah. So I just walked up. Hey, can I get an autograph? And he basically said, yeah, as long as I can draw you a picture. Drew me a picture of Rex.
That's cool.
Signed
Whoa.
it. And see you later. It's pretty awesome.
I would have said, "Fuck no! I just want your signature, man."
That's
I
right.
can't sell the picture, man.
Stick
I
it
can only
to
sell your
me.
autograph.
So Lorenzo, let's get this thing wrapped up. Tell everybody where they can find us, and we're
doing good
these
on
guys
time.
Get back to their own lives.
You can find us, These Aren't the Nerds You're Looking For, on Facebook, at Not the Nerds Podcast. We're on Twitter and Instagram, at Not the Nerds. If you want to email us, you can find us, notthenerdspodcast@gmail.com. If you want to send us any messages there.
Yeah, notthenerdz.com should have launched by now. So
Nice.
we got ourselves
Congrats.
a website.
Ew.
Yeah.
I still haven't seen it, so this will be a fun surprise.
Yep.
So
yeah.
We're gonna look real dumb
Yeah.
if something happens to that
Cool.
website next month.
I
It's
know.
just like it's gonna be like the 1996 Space Jam website, like, but with our pictures on it. I'm all for that. That's fine. Like, it's like GeoCities. Like,
Live journal.
There's nothing wrong with that. I used to have 2 different GeoCities accounts, but that's a
we have like GeoCities and like a Zanga. Like,
nope. It was two different websites.
You should
on
drop
GeoCities,
the
so-
usernames or the URLs in case they're still up and people can check it out. Be some good marketing.
I don't remember what
Oh,
they
I
are
don't
because
remember.
they had like neighborhoods and
oh god.
because it was like geocities.com/ and then there was like another something that was predetermined by GeoCities, and that was by if it was like video games and shit, it was like in this thing, and then if it was about literature, it was like this other thing. I don't remember, but then even within that, then there was like it was like a neighborhood and then a community, and then like you had your number. I don't know. It's weird.
I did not realize GeoCities was that involved. I stayed away from that one. Like,
Yeah. Well, I'm a little older. I'm gonna stop talking now. So
thanks, Mike. Thanks, Peter,
Yeah,
for
thank
coming on our
you.
show and chatting. Yeah, it was a
Yeah.
pleasure. Like we met via the show, so this conversation,
Yeah.
this was our first
Awesome.
meeting. So
Well, it is great to meet you, and I'm sure it will not be the last.
No.
And I hate to say this, but you are not the nerds we were looking for. Cue the loud music!
Bye, everybody.
Is that the Shredder music from TMNT that you're?
I was trying to do
that you're playing
Metallica.
right there?
But that's better.